good, famous? Mr. Kelly with Good to the Hood. Talk about anything and everything that impacts the culture. And today I'm actually going to talk about Drake, right? Drake just dropped 3 albums today, May 15th. And I do have the whole album fully uploaded on my site if you want to listen to it. The Iceman. I don't have the other 2. So this is going to be, I'm really just going to talk about Drake in general, not just the albums. Which, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I listened to the entire Iceman album only one time through. And it's mid. Like, it's okay. There's some, there's definitely some decent lyrics and wordplay and that kind of thing, right? Which is to be expected, right? Any professional rapper should have that. But it didn't really have any club bangers. It didn't have anything that really made you say like, wow, the beat was really dope. It didn't just none of that. Like, I don't envision that I'm going to ride this summer playing anything really off of this album. I mean, I'll probably listen to it again, but you're not going to ride this. You're not going to be riding in the middle of July, bumping Iceman out of your car. It's probably not going to happen. I mean, it might, but I'm not going to do it. But look, there's some good and some bad, with all of this. So he dropped 3 total albums. Iceman, which is the one that was most anticipated, right? All the hype was for that album. He dropped an album called Maid of Honor, and then he dropped one called Habibti, something like that, Habibti, and it's an Arabic word meaning my darling. And from what I understand, it's actually very much commonly used in the Arab world. So that's the title of that 3rd album. And I'm not exactly sure why he named it that. Again, I haven't listened to it, so maybe there's a tie-in there. But on social media, on our, for instance, on the Good to the Hood Instagram page, which I encourage you to follow us there if you're not already. There's been some discussion. I talked to some people and just kind of been reading, some things. And it's pretty interesting. Like, one of the slams that's actually somebody from TMZ kind of brought up. They said, so on one of his tracks, Drake says that he has basically bigger things to think about. That was going on during the beef with him and K-Dot. One of which was his dad had cancer. So TMZ ran into his dad somewhere, and they're like, hey, heard you had cancer. Hope you're doing okay. Hope your health is well, blah, 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 blah. And his dad had said, no, I'm good. That was a while ago. So, like, I'm good. So they're saying, TMZ, this guy, was saying, well, Drake isn't being truthful because his dad didn't have cancer now. Or something to that effect. Which, look, okay. First of all, let's keep this all in proper context. At the end of the day, right, this is entertainment. This is music. And hip-hop is one of the few genres where there's usually quite a bit of truth. It's definitely a lot of exaggeration, but there's truth in the music, right? So his dad did have cancer. His dad said, I'm good now. I don't, that was a while ago. But you don't get rid of cancer. It goes into remission. So to try to say, oh, Drake is lying. Plus, you got to realize this dude dropped 3 albums, 43 total songs. So when was this song written, right? I mean, to write 43 songs, and I'm using the word right, and I'll get to that in a minute. 43 songs, I mean, that's going to take some time. So, this might have been something that he wrote who knows how long ago, right? Or a verse or whatever. So let's go ahead and come back, because I know a big thing that is going to hover over Drake forever, specifically after the beef, is the whole ghostwriters. And if you look on any of Drake's albums, they're ghostwriters. And so, I mean, it just is what it is. He's written the majority of his music, right? But yeah, he absolutely has ghostwriters. Now, I know a lot of y'all ain't going to agree with me, but I agree with, I saw an interview with KRS-One, right? One of the godfathers of conscious rap. He was with BDP back in the 80s and all of that. So, and I kind of agree with him that, look, if you have somebody that writes your lyrics, all or some, Now KRS-One was also, he writes all of his own lyrics, right? But I like his approach to those that don't. He says, look, if somebody writes dope lyrics, maybe they don't have the ability to, or the flow to execute that to be a dope song or to come out right, but you do. And to him, he goes, look, as long as it comes out right and the message is conveyed the way that it needs to, and it sonically is good music, he's cool with it. Now that's me too. I feel like it's not that big a deal. Now, I will say that if you can write your own music, your own lyrics, and you can deliver it well, and it sounds good sonically, and the message is conveyed properly, then you, in that regard, absolutely have more talent, right? So, on the writing aspect of it, there's people that are going to say, well, who's better, Drake or Kendrick, right? And if we're talking about that part of it, the artistry of writing all of your music, right, and having the proper delivery and flow and so on and so forth, Kendrick wins that. I don't think anybody can debate that. But we can't sit here and realistically act like Drake doesn't write any of his music, like none of it at all, and hasn't written some of his music that turned out to be big hits. So I'm just saying, look, I'm just saying that people are going to believe what they want to believe, but I'm approaching this, I'm talking about Drake on this video, but I am trying to be not biased, right? And just be matter of fact what it is as I see it from what I've heard, read, seen, blah, 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 right? So Drake also, right now, as of the recording of this video, is the first artist to have 60 songs on the charts right now at the same time. 60 songs at the same time. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, he just dropped 3 albums. That's true. But those 3 albums, all together added up, is 43 songs. And he has 60 on the charts right now. So that's 17 tracks that are from older bodies of work, right? So I'm just saying, look, that's just a matter of fact type of thing. Do with that what you will, right? So he's had quite a career. I bring all that up too to say, people say, oh, he's going to end his career, blah, blah, blah. How? Like, his following is huge. His following is huge. And we know there's people that are biased, and there's a lot of people that are like me that are just in the middle, just want to hear good music from good artists. We like some of this artist stuff, some of this artist stuff. I like seeing the competitiveness with beef in rap, so like, I'm cool with it. I don't want nobody to get hurt. I don't want it to be a Biggie and Tupac type situation, but I'm just like, look, let the beef ride out. I also see a lot of people on social media saying, well, he needs to let it go. That was 2 years ago, this and that. Some beef don't die. Like, is that the same energy with 50 Cent and Ja Rule? Because 50 be trolling cats forever, like decades. And 50 himself has said this beef will never die, right? So I feel like, okay, if Drake is still harping on this beef or whatever, or even if Kenny wants to harp on this beef, so be it. As long as nobody gets hurt, just let it be what it is. I mean, that's hip hop, right? Just let the beef ride out. And even at that, even if they do get to a point to where they squash it, which is cool when rappers do that too, it has only been 2 years. I mean, beefs can run way longer than 2 years, and usually do in the hip hop world. So even if you're not a super troll like 50, who just perpetually lets it go on forever, let this beef ride out for 2, 3, 4, 5 more years. See what happens, right? So that's just that. So on that too, I know that what I've seen is a lot of people talking about how Drake sued Kendrick. So to be clear, Drake didn't sue Kendrick. He sued UMG, right, for shady business practices, for pushing streams, falsifying streams, holding back some of his music or whatever. I don't know, however all that works, but that's what he did. He sued UMG, which is a company that was affiliated with him as well. All right, so there is a difference. But look, at the same token, this is business, folks. Rappers have sued other rappers. Rappers have sued other people, like have defended themselves against certain allegations and so on and so forth, right? So it is what it is. I don't see that's that big a deal to me. It ultimately wasn't held up in court, so it is what it is, right? But I don't think that he was wrong in that, because at the same time that this is a rap beef, at the end of the day, this is business. And so if I'm producing this music and I'm under contract with you, UMG as my label, or as part of my label, what have you, and you're favoring or pushing this artist's music more so than mine, depending on how the contracts are written, that could be problematic, right? And it gets deeper because with the shady business practices, it was also because Drake says that a lot of the things that Kendrick was saying were not accurate, was slander, right? The PDF stuff, okay? Specifically, as far as there's two main things that come to mind when I hear about this. Is one, there's a young girl that was on the stage. She was like 17. Drake brought her up on stage. It was her birthday. Kissed her on the cheek or something like that. At the time, Drake was like 22 or something like that. Something like that. I might have the ages a little off, but right. So that was a thing. And then of course, there's allegations that he had an inappropriate relationship with who's that Stranger Things chick, Millie Bobby Brown, something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. She said, no, he's a good friend, he's cool, he's whatever. There was nothing shady. Okay, maybe yay, maybe nay. I don't know. Of course, then people want to say, well, was he grooming her and all this kind of stuff, right? And look, I don't know either way. I haven't heard any convictions. I don't know if there's any case. I don't know if anything, whatever. But this stuff is thrown out there. Especially this time, day and age with the Epstein files and what's going on with the president and everything else. Like the opinion of the public can be what the opinion of the public is, even if there's no hardcore evidence, no hardcore proof, no hardcore documentation. That's the world we live in. So I know in part that's why he was also doing the suit, but again, is what it is. So I've seen that a lot on social media. From what I heard on my one listen of Iceman, he called out some individuals by name and some not by name. For sure by name was DJ Khaled. Basically just saying that, you're not standing up for Palestine. And, like that's your people. And you got this platform, you're not doing nothing, right? So that, that is what it is. Kind of makes sense that Drake may have that take as well, because obviously we know that he's also Jewish, right? So, Israel, Palestine, the whole thing. If you haven't been watching the news, you probably should get up on that because that's a thing. So he calls out DJ Khaled by name. I don't know that he called out Kendrick by name, but I definitely think there was some subliminals. There's definitely some pretty clear subliminals towards LeBron, basically for going to the Pop-Out concert. But look, that Pop-Out concert that Kenny had was in LA, was in Cali. And there's a lot of artists, a lot of actors, just, some athletes, a lot of people that were, that are affiliated with Los Angeles. Like with LA, it was a pop-up concert for California. And that was very clear if you watched that. So he calls out LeBron, Playboy Cardi, basically for being a fake friend. He obviously calls out Rick Ross by name for sure. That I do remember hearing. He did call out Rick Ross. I think he said something slick about J. Cole. And I've read this. I don't recall hearing it, but they say that he threw some shade at Dr. Dre, which would make sense because obviously Dr. Dre also participated, not just attended, but participated in the Pop-Out concert in California. But I mean, Dre is a California icon, so obviously he gonna be there. He supports Kenny, like, they both from Compton, like the whole deal. So I can see how Drake would say something. Let me put this phone down. How Drake would say something about Dre. I mean, I can see that. Now, the first thing that I saw after that is people saying, oh, he don't want it because you disrespect Dr. Dre, Eminem's going to come out. And don't nobody want it with the white boy. However, there's an interview out there, a couple interviews, where Eminem says confidently, I will never diss Drake. I will never say anything about Drake because of some things that he did for me and for my daughters, right? So Eminem ain't gonna get involved. And Drake has gone on stage several times on concert saying that Eminem is the GOAT. Hands down. Drake says Eminem is the best rapper to ever touch a mic. So M ain't gonna get involved. If M did get involved, he might write some lyrics, because M definitely has written lyrics for Dr. Dre if Dr. Dre were to get, go that route. But I don't see any of that. Now 50 might jump in here for sure. That's who 50 is. So that's that. I don't know that he called out anybody else. I do know some of the people that I was trying to listen for that he didn't say anything about. So Drake didn't say anything about Pusha T. I thought he was absolutely going to say something there. Didn't say nothing about Pusha T that I heard. He hasn't said anything about Meek Mill, but technically Meek Mill and him, squashed their beef. He didn't say anything about Future, but ironically, there was beef with him and Future, but he has a track with Future. So, whatever, make of that whatever that means. Metro Boomin, he hasn't said nothing about. Mustard, he hasn't said nothing about. Kanye West, he hasn't said nothing about. So that I've heard on the Iceman album. So there might be some subliminals there with any of those individuals. There might be something on some of the other albums. I don't know that. I'll probably listen to them. I don't know that I'm going to post or do any reviews on that, because just the little chatter that I'm hearing is they're very mid, which makes sense for this reason. So the beat selection probably wasn't tip top. Producer selection probably wasn't tip top. Wasn't no big name collabos. And the reason is this: he dropped all three, and he does say this on the Iceman album. He drops all three of these albums at the same time, quick, fast, and in a hurry, because this allows him to get out of his contract with UMG. In order to complete and fulfill his contract and go independent, he owed them 3 more albums. So by dropping these 3 albums, his obligations to them contractually are done, which makes sense. He lost a lawsuit. He said they had shady business practices, blah, blah, blah. But they're like, look, we still own you for 3 albums. He's like, all right, bet. Boom, ... drops 3 albums. Contractually, I don't owe you nothing. I'm independent. He's in a space now to where if he goes independent and cuts out the middleman, he'll actually make more money, right? Drake is already worth 9 figures. And even though there's a lot of pockets here in the United States that don't like him, and a lot of people just, for whatever reason, because they don't listen to his music, or because of some of the allegations, or because of him being quote unquote a crybaby, or whatever the case may be, right? Drake ain't go, like his fan base that he does have, he's solid. Canada, they love him. Globally, if Drake goes and has a concert in Brazil or somewhere, he gonna sell out whatever arena. So like, he's good. He's good. Dude's 39, right? And just dropped 3 albums, just got out of his contract, getting ready to go into another direction. Now, I would be eager to see what albums he drops when he goes completely independent, because that, I'm hoping, and I'm thinking, that's where the banger will be. That's where the bangers are going to be. Because the music that he had come out with during the whole beef era, he had dropped whatever it was, 5 or 6 tracks, and Kenny did the same, and they were going back and forth and that was some pretty good music from both individuals, right? Obviously, at the end of the day, Kenny did win that beef, that battle, however you want to say that. Kendrick definitely won. I don't think it was a landslide like some people make it seem, because Drake had some pretty good shots fired as well. But at the end of the day, obviously, Kendrick won, and then he dropped the GNX album. Fantastic. I still listen to that when I go to the gym, so Kenny definitely won. But to say Drake doesn't have any part in or any place in the culture is kind of crazy to me. Drake does appear on my top 10, which I have in one of my earlier videos. I'm going to redo that one because I did that one with Face. Shout out to Face. And in that top 10, Face only wanted to have a top 8. I don't know, it's a whole different thing. So I'm going to go ahead and re-up that. But Drake will probably still be on there on my top 10. And the reason why I will have him on my top 10 is because overall body of work, longevity in the game, and impact on the culture as a whole. And I think Drake has done all of that. Again, his last few albums, including these last 3, even though I've only listened to 1 in its entirety, but even the ones before, like Nokia and some of the other ones, they were very mid. Wasn't no bangers right on there. But look, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing of Drake. I probably spent a little bit too much time on that. But look, if you want to discuss this a little further in the comments or on IG, that's cool. In fact, if you want to get a hold of me and I bring you in on Zoom and we debate it on Zoom, I'm all open for that too. But again, that's the good and bad with Drake. He dropped those albums. I don't think it's going to be riding out for the whole summer. But look, good on him for doing what he do, staying in the game. I hope some of these guys rebuttal, because I'm here for the music. So look, I hope Rick Ross comes back into it. I mean, look, if Kanye wants to get into it, if Pusha T, for sure, because I'm a fan of Push. Pusha T wants to get into it, cool. Obviously, if Kendrick wants to get into it, or anybody from the West Coast, because I love West Coast hip hop, that's cool too. But look, till next time, this is Mr. Kelly with Good to the Hood. Peace.